I'm the king of this YouTube. Ain't worried about you dudes. Ain't nothing that you do to make me care. But I pray to Allah, you don't take me there. See, I'm the type to get in front this mic and sacrifice. Alright, you the type to get in front the mic and hope you get some likes. I used to back the thing that go bang bang and boom. My brain cells is a fully armed army platoon, and y'all some cartoons, ooms and balloons. You wanna meet on IG? I prefer high noon. I'm a quick draw McGraw standing on that floor. It's I self, Lord and Master.
Family, I'm here with one of the greats, one of the newest greats.
You better pay attention.
Brother Ausar Bey.
The lines, I'm the man still standing. Kill them haters single-handed. Had them fighting each other with every punch I landed. Cut the head off the snake and his wife Medusa. And after side Netta got the rest of them losers. Inky, Yuck, Neil Bay.
Welcome to another edition of Moist World TV. I am your host, Brother Taharka Bey, and today we are in studio with my brother Ausar. And I'm gonna say Ausar because I'm gonna allow him to introduce himself because we have some new developments of his station in life and his station in his professional life. So with that being said, let me allow my guest to introduce himself. Welcome to Moist World TV, and we are in studio for the first time. So brother, the floor is yours. How about you introduce yourself and tell the people who you are, where you from, and a little bit about yourself.
So how far do you want me to go?
How far you want to go?
I mean, some call me Manny, some call me Dennis, some call me Ausar. I'm from Northeast Baltimore. I say born and raised. Neighborhood I lived in most of my upbringing, they call OYC, Old York and Cater, in Northeast Baltimore.
You over there by Greenmount?
Well, yeah, Greenmount.
Up from Greenmount.
Up from Greenmount, yeah. They used to call, you never heard of Old York and Cater? Oh, you're a Naptown brother.
Yeah, but I'm very familiar with Old York and Cater.
Yeah.
But that's up. But what I'm saying is that's up.
It's Greenmount.
Yeah,
You're right.
Greenmount.
But Greenmount's another neighborhood from the.
But it changes into York Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From a colloquial sense of Baltimore, that's a whole nother neighborhood from the. I guess I can say when you're trying to black people or the black community's perspective, they have created their own neighborhoods, which also were at one time like, if you could say, like their own forms of gangs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, Greenmount will be another gang. Old York and Cater will be a gang. But
so Old York. Now I want to get this right. Old York and Cater. Would that be up there by that restaurant on that corner that everybody goes through? I think it's like a little deli. What is that near? I'm telling you, it be going down over there. Got the gas station over there, the BP, and it's a little intersection.
You talking about Old York? I mean, you talking about York Road and Cold Spring. Yeah, but that would be included in it. But the main hub of it would be if you go down a little to where before 43rd Street. Okay. Like if you go up in that neighborhood between Oregon, Oregon
Absolutely.
43rd, let's say north of that, and Old York Road York Road is sitting.
You back there by Old York Road.
Old York Road, and Cade Avenue.
Yeah,
okay, that's a very hot neighborhood, especially when I was growing up. Yeah. And so I grew up in that neighborhood. My father reared me in that neighborhood. My mother reared me in that neighborhood. And it was hot. I mean, it was crack central,
Oh, yeah?
However, I will say that the teachings, the family, my father actually chose to bring us back from Glen Burnie, for many reasons. One thing he said was a little too much white culture going on out there. That was one of the reasons. So we came back into the city. I mean, the city. And I like to say that my African city upbringing helped, let's say, protect me and help me survive and thrive in that environment.
Oh yeah. So what was the premise of your African culture upbringing in your younger years?
The premise?
What was the premise of it?
What do you mean by the premise?
The premise of it, like, some people kind of lean towards Kemet, some people kind of lean towards West African cultures. What was your foundation? Was it in all-inclusive Africa? What was it?
I would say, from my standpoint, now my father would tell you something probably a little different, but maybe the same. Because my my father was younger, right? You know, I think it was a mixture of all those things.
Okay.
You know, I saw a little bit of Huey P. Newton up in him too, you know. Right. I saw the wicker chairs. I saw the evolution even before he started looking as sharp as he looks right now. Right. You know, I've been through, but really the premise was love African people. Right. I mean, black or African or what have you is beautiful. Right. You know, and to some degree, I mean, he really was successful. I think that somehow that has instilled in me that we are great. You know, I think I see myself as a case study because so many times people say that doesn't do anything. What does that do for people? What can it do for people? It does nothing for people. But I see myself as a case study. But I also there's also research to support where African-centered thought is effective in building up confidence, self-esteem, and really good for mental health and mental stability, right. As long as it's not just focuses so much on the white man, right? But really giving us our celebratory messaging as it pertains to what we've done, and not see ourselves as victims merely, but also those who have victories. Right,
right. Yeah. So when you immersed yourself in this African culture in order to enhance yourself by the way of your parents, how did you ultimately interact? Because, you know, as raising my children as Moorish Americans, it seemed like sometimes I'm kind of flexible and super flexible because of the culture of what's going on. How were you able to interact and still be your African self, but not so much being accepted, because I know many of us, we could care less about being accepted, but being seen as what they would say, your friends would say as Dennis, normal Dennis?
Oh, well.
If you understand the question.
That was a good question because I actually just wrote a Facebook post that I'm looking for right now about my mother and father. I said here, my parents were magical in rearing us. Okay. Not too much pressure, not too much pressure, not too permissive. I give thanks that they are still going strong and still working together to make sure we are all right. My mother, honest, like similar to what we talked about a little earlier, my mother still had a Christmas tree, or my father was putting that canara up, the Kwanzaa stuff, you know. Right. So it was a balance, you know. And plus, you know, my father didn't say, well, you can't listen to Biggie Smalls. My father said there's a duality in all of us. Right. And you got to have both parts, you know, to survive in this world. So as you say, sometimes you got to bring that more sword out. You know, my father says there's a time and a place for everything. Right. So you don't subdue that. You know. I mean, he also made African clothes cool, but he didn't make me wear it. But I did wear it for like let's say Halloween or something like that. Halloween, you know. Right. That's probably nothing that he really participated in. But he said, look. All right, if you're going to participate, you're going to be African when you go there. Right,
right. I think that's phenomenal due to the simple fact that many people that is reared in different cultures, whether it be Islam, whether it be Moorish, whether it be Afrocentric cultures, here in America, we always trying to find our way and try to find our balance. So hopefully that will help somebody. So as you went towards high school and you went towards education after high school, were you consciously intermingling, because that is leading to where you're at now, were you consciously intermingling the work that you wanted to do for your community into your studies?
Yeah, what needs to be known is I grew up in a household that was very community oriented. My father and mother even took in people that weren't even their blood, you know, in that community, just to help them. You know, like somebody's mother may have been on drugs or something. Right. And they actually took individuals in, our cousins, the family. My house was always like that safe haven. Right. In a safe haven where I never was disrespected, never been traumatized, never been touched, none of that type of thing. You know what I'm saying? So there was order there. But they always was a place where my uncles, and when somebody was down, when somebody was up, what have you, you know, they could come back. Sometimes not ending good, sometimes where they move out, but then they knew they could come back. Right. So that's the type of household I grew up in. But going forward, I had a business over here. Me and my father we had the truck rental business over here. So in my early years, like in my 20s, even before then, since I was a young man, I was a business person.
Right.
So I am an entrepreneur, and what happens is, in my 20s, I really have been really successful in business. I'm saying beyond what many probably people even know, right? So I've seen some dough, you know what I'm saying, in my 20s, which woke me up. And, you know, I wasn't looking for it because I was never a person just looking for money, but it came to me. And I think what it has allowed me to see is money has its limitations.
Yes,
you see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And I've hired many people across this city in my communications business, where we install DirecTV, where we install like some of the lottery systems, where we install some of the international satellites and things in people's houses, more on a let's say in homes. But then we also did some commercial work and things of that nature. We also had truck rental business, also had real estate investing business. Also, so I had all these things. And some of these things I still do. Some of those I put away while I do this business that we're currently doing called TNAT Holistic Wellness Center, where we actually offer mental health. We offer Tai Chi. We offer a holistic approach to healing our people. So I went to school straight out of high school. I went to Northern High School, by the way. Northern was a very tough school. Again, it was like my neighborhood school, so it was some protection there to a degree. Right. But it's also a very tough school. It made national headlines, and you know they even had what's the guy, Joe Clark or whatever, the guy from Lean on Me, my principal, and they talked on like one of those national news networks. Because it was off the chain, you know, off the hook. I don't know which one is applicable and what's relevant today.
But we all get it.
you know. But it was a rough school where, like, my neighborhood kind of ran the school. You might as well call it Old York High. And then, you know, but somebody around my neighborhood did get killed from another neighborhood, which didn't have that much of a reputation until they did that. Because if you kill somebody from the toughest neighborhood in the school, they now got a rep. And the school was surrounded by this neighborhood called Dutch Village. And Dutch Village, you know what Dutch Village is?
Absolutely.
So Dutch Village is more of a transient type of apartment-based townhouse type of community. But they started showing up even deeper, you know. So now when I went to school, at some point I prayed that I could just get out of there. And I wrote a paper in that when I first went to school. I went to BCC, Baltimore City Community College. And I wrote a paper and they asked me, could they share it? I wish I still had that paper about that experience, you know, and just praying that I can get out of school alive as a black man, because during those times, all they talked about is us, you know, being statistics. Right. You know, this is right after the, you know, the war on drugs and, you know, say no to drugs. This was like in the 90s when I was in high school, right? I graduated in 98. I went to Baltimore City Community College. I never kind of finished that. I started getting to business and things of that nature. Because, I mean, I'm like, look, I don't need the degree because, you know, but the economy kind of crashed. I went back to school. I never really stopped that much, but I kind of went to part-time. But then I picked it up after 2009, went back real strong. And then I stopped a little bit to build what we call the African Village. I was one of the ministers under Dr. Ray Hagen before we parted ways. I was, which is called the African Village and Cultural Center.
1 second. Honey, you got to turn. We conducted an interview. You come in, but just don't have your phone on. It's not. It's not. So you start with the African Village.
The African Village and Cultural Center, where I was where I learned a lot from African Village and Cultural Center. I was we had a study group. Then I became a minister here in Baltimore under Dr. Ray Hagen's. He came in, what is it called, ordination. And
that's what I wanted to talk about too. So yeah,
all that type of thing. And then at some point, because we were like one of the most energetic groups here in Baltimore, I became the national director of the African Village and Cultural Center. So I guess you would say the second in command to a degree with the African Village and Cultural Center, which I learned a lot.
So that's what I wanted to ask, and I'm gonna bounce around a little bit. That's sort of how I do my thing.
That's fine.
I do remember Dr. Ray Hagen's having some type of organization here in Baltimore, and now that I understand, I think that was through you and your family possibly. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because Dr. Ray Hagen at one point, Dr. Ray Hagen was very, very influential as it relates to breaking down that Bible, breaking down the story of Jesus, and really connecting us to the stories of Kemet that would overlap, if you will, or the Christian stories that overlap the stories of ancient Kemet. And he was very instrumental in bringing that to the internet, although it was done before by the likes of, I think it's the brother
Ashwell
Kwesi, Dr. Ben. But he was one that was able to articulate it in such a way where it was so clear that everybody was like, wow, this is amazing, as if it was never told before. So when he was here, and how did you get involved with Dr. Ray Hagen?
So this is a good segue. So in my early 20s, after doing business, I've helped a lot of people, and if I just had to be honest, like you said, it's one thing for your parents or your father to teach you a thing, then there's another thing for you to kind of go out and do it on your own. Right? So I was helping an African sister starting a business in real estate. And I took her to like this organization I used to be a part of that taught me how to be a part of real estate, which was a multi-level marketing company, but it actually taught me how to invest in real estate. And on my way back from this meeting, I took her like 300 miles or what have you to a meeting to help her build a business. She told me, she said, "Dennis, do you confess to Christ?" And at this point in time, like, I grew up in this African-American household, you know, there's more like, I guess in some sense utopic when it comes to African and quote unquote black people, what have you, right? I was seeing the world from this utopic, unifying African lens. And then I said, no, and I see Jesus as a brother. And she started breaking the real down for me that I'm going to hell. And she was really sincere that she wanted to save me. I've been baptized. My father even let me become baptized, although that wasn't his school of thought, because his mother, that's how flexible he was, right? So that's what I'm saying. He never been this rigid guy per se, but he stood stern. You know, you hear the talk, right? He stands stern. But he's not going to become your oppressor as a child, or not give his mother some satisfaction, that type of person, right? So she told me I'm going to hell, and she scared the hell out of me. And I'm like, what? I said, so I'm helping you, and I help all these people. I help all, and I'm saying my heart is good, it's pure. I'm a genuine person. I know I'm a genuine person, right? I'm saying to you, like, I know I'm one of the most genuine people that I've met. you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So what I'm saying is, and that would not budge her thought about me going to hell. I said, so I can help you, I can be good to my brothers. You tell me the guy over there can bash you in the head, shoot you in the face, and he not going to hell as long as he confessed to Jesus Christ and he rose again on the third day and all this type of thing. Yes, Dennis, yes, Dennis, yes. And I was like, oh my God. Then my Afrocentric upbringing, the Tony Browders and the Ashwell Kwasis and all these people just came to surface, like, okay, and I have children. And this is what they're going to have to deal with? And I didn't really know the Bible like that, to be honest with you. So, because I went to like the Dr. Ben lectures and all these different lectures my father took me to, but I didn't know nothing about no Bible. I went to this church here called the Universal African Church or the Maya Temple. And they told me that Jesus was just a man like me. He was a brother though, and I can be like Jesus. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm confused in a sense. So I said, hold up, I gotta do this on I gotta figure this out because I can't even debate her. I'm like, so I asked my father one day, I was like, Bob, I said, Dad, I said, probably say Dad, because I call him Dad at that point, right? Dad, you got somebody I can study or do something like, he was like, they got this guy named Ray Hagen, right? I thought, and he was like, he's in DC. So I started looking him up, then I forgot his name, then I went back and he told me his name. So I started listening to him on his radio show, WBLR, Black Liberation Radio. So I just like engrossed myself in learning what was going on there. And it was very freshening, because and part of the reason why Dr. Ray has this connection or had that connection is that he has a very Christian disposition, right? And he can sing and he can charm and he can do. I'm not saying I'm not saying anything that.
Don't mean to cut in, but I definitely agree. He got that. You ever hear the Christian minister with the baritone, like that vibration, and he talks with the magical
Yeah, and although he slowed that down over the years,
right,
and what he slowed that down and became more scholastic sounding. I will say, right? Scholastic sounding, and so, but he brought that more that. You can't handle the truth. Like he brought more of that, and and he had like the punchlines, and then he made the messages. Like the verdict is in. Can you handle it? Like he was really good at that, right? And I'll be honest, I picked up a lot of good things from my experience as far as a presenter and all types of things, right? I don't got the what you say, I can't do that, because know that he do that at some point in time. But so I started having a nice time on the radio, listening to WBLR, and I say, you know what, I want to be a part of that. And honestly, to be honest, like I will give my father credit for introducing me to lots of these people, from Dr. Ben to Astro Quasi to Dr. Ray, and all these people, and all these people with these advanced degrees, which you're going to go forward towards. And I saw Dr. Ray Hagen's, and I saw, man, he had a degree in this and a degree in that, and I saw he was in psychology. And I always, from my father loved psychology, and I love psychology. You understand what I'm saying? And I love to really analyze. My father told me the other day I've been analyzing people since I was a little boy, but I was naturally gifted in that,
right? And
for whatever reason, right? So I was inspired by Dr. Ray and Dr. Ray Morgan and all the people I began to. Which is one of Dr. Ray's friends, which is a lovely gentleman up in New York who also does holistic medicine and also have an MD and an OMD, and he also is an architecture, right? And they call him Imhotep. Imhotep, we went to Egypt with him as well. But let me get back to the question.
No, you're good, man. I'm like traveling with you. We're just talking about the effect that Ray Hagen had on your journey, basically, in short.
Well, mostly positive. I had some differences with Dr. Ray, but for the most part, there's no love lost.
Let me ask you this. Let me have a sidebar chat real quick. Were you around the time when Ray Hagen was, they would say, set up by the conscious community?
Well, I would debate whether he was set up completely,
right,
and how. I would say it's a little bit of both.
Well, that's what I say. They say they know that the idea was that he didn't know he was in for a debate, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, well, yeah, I was there.
Yeah. Oh, you was there?
Yeah, I was there. I know that, I'll say this. I know Satnetta was BS, because I already knew, because Dr. Ray had made it public that he's not debating.
Right.
You got what I'm trying to say? And I came to the Wesley Muhammad debate like, what is Dr. Ray going to say to him? Because, see, Wesley Muhammad started the debate off saying, well, I'm not going to talk about Islamism. I am not going to talk about religion. Yeah. I'm going to talk about history. All that type of thing. Yeah. And I said, what Dr. Ray going to debate? Because Dr. Ray don't debate history per se. He debates religion,
right?
Religiosity,
right? Christianity,
moreover. Right. That's what he really debates. But even he debated Islam to a degree, but not per se. But even he debated allegories from what was real, what is unreal, and all these types of things. He's not really going to debate. He's not going to be able to even stand a ground with Wesley Muhammad to a great degree on a historical level, even if Wesley Muhammad's false.
Right.
Because you can be really good at teaching falsisms.
Oh my goodness.
You see what I'm saying? So the thing is, if you in his history, you did 1,000. At least he has a doctorate in Islam or what have you, right? Mm-hmm. He did a whole dissertation on it. Who? I know that I didn't do a dissertation on Islam. So because what little I've read in the book, I know that Wesley Muhammad will be able to make, even if he's wrong, he will make me look like I'm wrong. Yeah, because he didn't research this thing. He can slap you in your face with all types of stuff you never even thought of, and that's how he's going to win.
Right. Right. Especially on the stage, like on the Satnetta stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because he's going to start putting stuff out there that you can't he didn't study so much stuff. He can lie and make it right.
Do you remember after that they tried to make Dr. Ray Hagen out to be an agent?
Well, that's what they do all the time.
You remember that?
Yeah. Well, see, okay. Part of it is they did try to make him an agent, and a few of the people I would say even was messy. I'll say some names like Inky. They just started making all types of lies.
That was really messy too.
I have my own differences with Dr. Ray Hagen,
right.
But that stuff was false.
Right.
You see what I'm trying to say?
Like, I think it was something that he was a policeman.
Well, he was a police.
And he's still the police.
No,
he's collecting intel, and this is the reason that he's here. You remember?
Yeah.
I mean, it got really, really messy. And now what we're talking about is the history of yourself, and we're talking about the psychology of the conscious community. So this kind of fits right in. So maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, he was a police.
Yeah, absolutely.
He said he was a police.
Absolutely.
But I hear that he was more of a chaplain. With a gun, because up there the chaplains carry guns up in Jersey, what have you. If I guess you want, because he's also ex-military, so that would be a good fit for him per se.
Right.
He was a well-known preacher up there in Jersey, you know. So yeah.
Right. So when they begin to characterize him as an agent infiltrator, were you still with him? And if you were, what were your feeling as they tried to make this guy that was so influential now to be an infiltrator agent?
See, I think, okay, so Dr. Ray he's never been with one that did not have some type of controversy around him.
Okay, I got you.
So it depends on what part of the what period of time you're talking about, because some of this is they've been making him an infiltrator for some time after that debate.
Right.
But after what happened in was it East St. Louis? What is it? Ferguson, Missouri. That's what really put the cap on Dr. Ray. Dr. Ray put the cap on Dr. Ray.
What did he make a statement about the brother Brown? Michael Brown or something?
Who was that? Michael Brown, who was murdered in Ferguson, Missouri. Yes, he made a statement. He made a statement, and that right there to me was a bit.
I think the statement, and I'm paraphrasing, and I'll pull it up and play the clip later. But I think the statement had reference to that he should have just complied or something to that nature, or he should have laid down, or he should have something to that nature. I'm not sure exactly.
I can't remember it either, but
everybody was in an uproar.
But I think it was
about
that he may have said that, and that's his right to do that per se. However, I think it was a little bit more than that, because I think that we can all have differences in opinion. Like I may think, well, it was okay. Maybe if he would have complied, that he'll be still living. Right? I can say that. He used to do lectures about, get your arm out of the lion's mouth.
Right.
Whereas, look, live to fight another day.
Right.
I can see the rationale in that, right? But he didn't stop there. He went to call him a thug.
Yes, that's
and he went on.
Really got up with.
Yeah, he went on to call him a thug, and to some degree, he probably could have some to support that. But you have to be conscious. You don't have to be, but especially it's recommended, especially if you represent a group of people,
right?
And one of those people being me. You have to be conscious of how that's going to impact your institution, how that's going to impact those around you, and so on and so forth, right? When you go out and you speak, and that's part of the issue I have with some conscious, quote unquote, organization circles, because there's they sometimes think they can say what they want to say, and there's no repercussions for the people that's with you, and even you. So to now go on, he almost seemingly went on a rampage about how he was a thug. He went on other people's shows and he kept talking about it, and I think if I recall, I can't remember. I didn't like that. I know I didn't like it per se, and even if I say an inkling of it was true. I say it was true. Sometimes you just fold sometimes. Let things surface. Let things settle.
Right.
You got to be more, you have to have more care when you're doing things. And you have to, and as a psychotherapist, me being a psychotherapist and he being a psychotherapist, he should know that. Now, I'm saying...
One second.
Yeah.
Him being a psychotherapist, he should know that. Let me... Okay. Okay, it's going good. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this looking good. Okay. He being a psychotherapist, he should know that.
He should know that. I mean, again, he influenced me to be a psychotherapist. However, as being a psychotherapist, you are trained to deal with people in which they can handle. And I'm saying lots of times you do it on one-on-one, but you take those same skills and do it collectively. You understand what I'm trying to say? That's why you see me sometimes I don't get into certain debates. I don't
You be real low key chilling.
Yeah, I don't I'm not really rah because I understand people have their perspectives.
Right.
You understand? I respect people and their perspectives. So, and that's what psychotherapy is about. Really understand perspective, and sometimes in some way trying to get people to see some other perspective. But also psychotherapy is this trauma-informed approach. So you approach things understanding one's trauma. And we know as Black people, or Moorish people or African people, that we've been traumatized in this country.
Absolutely.
And so we have to be careful with caring with people. Some people say this brutal truth. Maybe back in that day, they didn't have this trauma-informed approach as much as now. Trauma is big now.
Right.
So we understand trauma a lot more. So maybe his, and I think I've heard him say it, is more of a cognitive, and cognitive it has strengths, or maybe more brutally honest type of approach where you challenge people to see. But we understand it doesn't work when you're dealing with people who've been traumatized. I'm not saying all that Dr. Ray said was false, but what I will say is you have to be more careful in how you intervene. And that's what you do in a clinical room. That's what you do when you talk. This is an intervention which you put forth. You're intervening. I've seen you intervene. I've seen you on the seat. I've seen you talking to some of the things. I said, damn, Taharka did better than me or what I would have probably did on that thing. I'm just being honest. When you dealing with some very, touchy subjects such as molestation, being a part of a cult, I've seen you intervene in manners that were very, really careful. Now, sometimes I've seen where you go a little bit off the edge, but, we all have those days too. Right. But for the most part, I said, man, Taharka, man, he does a good job. I told you that. Absolutely. And I really mean it. I'm like, well, you got a skill, and that skill is a good skill. Can
you give us a history of yourself as it relates to being a psychoanalyst, if you will? And because you said that your father said, you've been analyzing people since you were young. Can you give us a history about yourself and your education in the field of being so analytical as it relates to personality, in particular the personalities of our people, which many of those personalities has become our own detriment in our community.
Okay, so I'm not a psychoanalyst. I could be, but that's not the school of thought. I always see that. For most of us, that's like saying a whirlpool when we know we're talking about a hot tub, right?
Got you.
So psychoanalytic theory is more of a Freudian theory. Freudian psychology does has a part in all psychology, even though I would say it didn't come from him, because I don't want to scare people thinking Freud made this up. He did like most Europeans do. They kind of making a framework out of what's already existing and call it something.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So my history though, so I went back to school, and I went to St. John Douglas College, and I graduated from there. Then I went to Loyola University here in Baltimore, and I was trained actually in clinical mental health counseling, got a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling, with more of a concentration is how spirituality and religion and how all these things show up in mental health, because it was in what they call a quote unquote pastoral counseling program, but it's not really pastoral like in the Christian sense, but it's more spiritually integrated, understanding how to work with people. I don't care if you're an atheist too, if you identify as a Christian or more, in a religious sense.
Right.
So I went there, got a master's degree, graduated magna cum laude, went back to school again finish up my doctoral degree. I went to Augustine University before they closed down. I had to go through that trauma and transfer to a school called Waynesburg University, who picked up a lot of my credits, and I'm grateful for. Well, I just finished my PhD. I just defended my dissertation on measuring the relationship of race-based trauma, Black identity, and spirituality. If I can say that in a nutshell.
Well, that's a lot. Race-based trauma, Black identity, and spirituality.
Yes.
And you have a doctorate. And what exactly say you? So is it a doctor of
philosophy?
Of philosophy.
So it's a PhD.
Okay, a PhD. Okay, man. Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that.
Right.
Due to the simple fact, man, we don't have enough. I don't think we have some, but I don't think we have enough people in our community that can say, listen, this qualifies me to talk to you and to give you some pathways towards solutions. And so when we look at one of the things that this is going to be presented on YouTube, and being presented on YouTube, it's automatically going to fall into the category of the conscious community. And you have told me for years, like, there is no conscious community on YouTube. There is no, these people that say that they're conscious is nowhere near conscious, and there is nothing community about this conscious thing that we see on YouTube. So this will be categorized as that. But as we look into the conscious community, YouTube conscious community, if you will, it seems as if that our people has taken this YouTube presence and have turned it into a show for to feed the ego. Has taken it to heights of going more bizarre to get attention, but still trying to maintain this degree of consciousness. For example, when we look at like a side net, I remember one time you say, well, listen, I'm still in school. We're not going to say any names, but is it okay to look at some of these circumstances with people as it relates not to maliciously browbeat, but to examine these situations?
They're public figures,
right? So
we can bring them up. I'm not going to say I know everything about them.
Right.
What I want to, the disclaimer I want to say is, and that has to make it on the show, right?
Absolutely.
That I am not diagnosing anyone, but we are looking at what some possibilities are of the likes of some of the behaviors that you are speaking to.
Okay, that's good, because I really want to look at the fact, when I first was introduced in what they call the conscious community by the way of, I'm talking about the digital conscious community, because I've been a part of the More Science Temple of America in one way or another since I was 17 years old. But I'm talking about this digital conscious community. It was probably by the way of Sinetta. And I'm not saying that I didn't have Dr. Ben videos, Dr. Ben books and all that. I had all of that. But when it came to the screen of YouTube, it was by the way of Sinetta. And Sinetta was actually bootlegging a lot of these strong conscious brothers. And basically he was just uploading them and giving some commentary. But it's gotten to the point where it just seems so crazy. And it seemed to start off as a good thing. And now it has turned into a fiasco and a show. Are you able to, I know you've been paying attention to, are you able to see the transition of how it seemed to be a good thing? And the biggest argument was, I'm not bootlegging your DVD, Brother Ashwell. I'm not bootlegging your DVD or VHS. I'm not bootlegging. That was one of the arguments. But now it's to the point where you got people calling each other B's, MFers.
I could see it from the I knew that it was dirty. I knew something was wrong with it from the very beginning.
I'm glad you understand the question. Let me say it one more time. From the beginning, when a person like me thought that it was a good thing, you actually could see it there.
I was what they say in the religious community, I sounded the horns.
You actually told me, actually.
Yeah, I sounded horns forever, even with, some of the closest people around me. But you have to be careful when you sound those horns, because people start to believe you're a hater. You see,
we got into that before, but we'll get to that.
you know, and so to some degree, you have to be, again, careful on how you intervene. You know what I'm saying? And I've grown to be more careful on how I intervene. But I've always seen it as pertains to YouTube and some of the, some of the likes of some of the esoteric or metaphysical people. Not all, but some of them who really are respected in how they lost values.
Yes.
And how you could say almost anything out your mouth. And even some of our elders, I would say that where we lift them up so high that everything they did is now God or the word, or just because one of the elders was taking shots at the other elder, now I'm mimicking that behavior. Yeah. So to some degree it becomes ordained in a sense, that I can do it because Dr. Such and Such did it to such and such, and so on and so forth. So,
man, I don't want to name drop, but to your point, man, I was disappointed when I seen my brother James Smalls do that. And,
do what?
Take a shot at, at another elder.
Okay.
And I was like, it's like, I'm going to get into this energy of this Sinetta thing. And it really made me feel some type of way, but, and I actually did a video on it too.
On what?
On Brother James Smalls.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I don't want to bring it up, man,
Yeah.
but I was kind of disappointed. But it lends itself to you seeing it develop, but many people did not see it coming to this. What did you see to know that it was coming to what we see now? Right now, it's like love and hip hop.
Okay, I saw.
Or housewives, or them.
Polite. He said it. He was honest. That's what narcissists do. I'm not calling him a narcissist. Well, in a loose sense, not a clinical sense.
Right.
But that's what they do. That's what they do. They tell you the truth so that they can say, I never, ever, I told you that.
Right.
You knew what you were signing up for. He used to say, look, we have to make this, we got to put a little nigga on it. And we gotta see the people, and see, then he downplayed the people. See, their minds are not as expansive and, this and that. So we gotta bring it down to how Desperate Housewives level. He used to say things like that.
I got a video, I don't mean to cut your wisdom, but I have a video, and I hope I can find this clip where he said, we need to package this up like dope. We need to package this up like drugs. We need to sell this consciousness the same way they sell dope on the streets.
And that appeases our trauma. That makes us feel good. It's easy for us to be that way. See, trying to be righteous is a lot of work. So now, to some degree, when one is saying and really saying things to that feeds your ego or allows you to be you, ignorant, it makes it easier. I can still be a N-word. I can still act like this. I can still look at him being a rapper. I can get 3 wives. I'm not saying I'm to get polygamy or none of that. But what I am saying is we have trouble dealing with one wife. So
talk about it.
So it's no surprise that we're having problems with multiple.
Right.
But then also the fake wives and how that allures, the whole fakeness. I saw the fakeness. I knew, me knowing, another thing is, I told you I was successful in business, right?
Right.
So me knowing what money and how far money can go told me he was fake.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? If you saying you're not a millionaire yet, but you got 3 Rolls Royces, that don't make sense. Because even if you do have $1 million, or you are making $1 million a year, you can't have those cars. I know what money is like, and I know what I could buy with that money that I know that I made, because I made a lot of money.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, I know I would, if I wouldn't got a Rolls Royce, and 3 of them at that, maybe I could have had 1.
Right.
You got what I'm saying? And that would have took something out of my pocket. But you can't have 3 paying all cash. So some of this stuff, this illusions and stuff that, is playing in our fantasy world. Because happening when you've been suppressed, oppressed, and traumatized, and when narcissism, all type of personality issues. What happened is there's this fantasy. We all have this little boy and little girl who hasn't grown up yet. So we play to other people's little boy and little girl fantasies. And you can't tell the person that's fake because we want that to be the truth.
Now let me tell y'all, you know, there was a time when Brother Polite, he came to Baltimore for the first time, and Dr. Ausar, he was there, and I had first met Polite other than talking to him on the phone, and I assumed that Polite was legitimate. I tell people all the time, like, yeah, I thought Polite was the real deal. And with that being said, one of the things that stood out to me though is that I was with Wolf, and there was a couple of more Bloods there, and Boom, and Boom. So we met together to go see Polite. And
I remember, yeah.
And when he seen me with Wolf, he was like, "You with them?" Introduced me to him, like he wanted to get with, because you know Wolf, he always got his rags on and whatever. So he wanted to validate himself because he seen what he thought to be gangbangers.
Yeah, authentically gangbangers.
Yeah, authentic gangbangers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that kind of stood out to me. And so when we got in the conversation in the corridor while he was selling his books and I was going live, and you was like, I think you said something to the effect, you call everybody else out, why don't you call him out for being fake? I think you told me that.
Yeah.
And I said to you, I said, what's fake about him? What's fake about him? I got all high up in the uproar. But you told me that to my face. I got all up in the uproar, aggressive and everything. And
then I told you I love you, bro.
Yeah.
Get that shit away from us.
But you know what happened though? The next day, Wolf and his blood homies, they were actually going to feed people under the bridge, and Polite showed up, him and his wife Aminette with the camera. Now, the thing is that before he showed up, he asked me, because he didn't get Wolf number, he asked me what they doing, et cetera, et cetera. He wanted to join them. Now, let me just fast forward to my point. What really struck me the next day is when you say that he was fake.
You said the next day?
The next day. That was a Saturday or a Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. No, it was a Sunday because I couldn't make it. I had to teach class in the temple, so I couldn't make it. But I met up with him, so Wolf could meet him, and then I left and had to go to the temple. And he had on the same clothes.
Wow.
He had on the same clothes. He had on that shiny gold jacket that he wore on stage the night before. Now he was claiming to be in the money at that time. He had on raggedy sock, like crusty sock, and I'm checking him out like, this ain't no Hollywood money getting millionaire here. And that was the first time that it hit me that this guy is masquerading, if you will. What I'm trying to get through to people today is, how do we see before the next day that this is a masquerade? The first day, this is the guy that I think that could be the leader of this conscious community and help awakening people. Remember that he had a catalog of talking about houses and real estate. Now, I didn't pay close attention to that. You know, I know a little bit about real estate here in Baltimore, but I didn't pay much attention to it. But if I would have, then it would have stood out to me, because you know anything about something about real estate, you know what he's talking about. Don't know what he's talking about. How do we see that the first day as opposed to the second day? Because the second day could be too late because your money could be gone.
Well, it's a lot of patterns, right? And one thing I did research Polite. I read his books, and I realized he wrote the same book I don't know how many times. He talks about walk with me. He's alluring you in about real estate, stocks, bonds, and all this type of thing, and never really say anything. A lot of them, that's the same formula. It's always this formula is that there's a problem, everybody else is against us, and I have a solution. That's a cult. They are loose cults, and then there's formalized cults. If you look at Donald Trump, he created a cult type environment. and people start making up their own stories and all this type of thing. There's a formula to creating a cult. Cults aren't all bad, but this is very bad.
Right.
What I mean is, I'm the stuff. I have all the bravado. I have your answer, and it's just simple. And he has a simple one. But then he has all these people that's coming against him. People who are reputable don't have so many people saying something about them.
Right.
It's like I've done real estate. I done had many classes, workshops. I have people holding up checks saying that I helped them earn a check.
Right.
There's probably not one. I'm going to say it again. One person who's saying I took their money. Right. However, that doesn't mean that I hadn't had people who I had to kick out the program or told me that, but I didn't ever take their money. And another thing, it's not about me, but what happens is when you see people have these multiple things and you start seeing the patterns of people downplaying other people. Well, they tried it, they stupid. No, people want hope. And they are hope hustlers. You understand? They're playing on people. So that's one thing. You flashy. Now you flashy, you always argumentative, you're always creating an enemy, you always talking fast, you always got problems, you inconsistent, you grandiose, like to some degree this is what people have to do. People have to check themselves and realize that they have to, it's like a drug. We're addicted to this personality. And we have to begin to realize, what does trauma really mean? What does abuse really mean? These aren't the first time they've been abused.
Right.
People who have been abused are more likely to be abused. They are attracted to it. You understand? They're looking for a daddy. We have to understand we have issues in our communities and in ourselves that we have to overcome the shine, the light, the glitter, and listen to ourselves. We see the red flags, we overlook them. You understand what I'm trying to say? We don't give people enough tests. We are so hurt that we'll take anything. So, there's patterns. I would say look up narcissism. Study narcissism. Study gaslighting. Study, even the gaslighters are starting to say these words on other stations.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? See, they're learning it, but they are the gaslighters. They're the ones who really making you think that there's a problem. Anybody who tells you that you keep giving your money to somebody, you stupid, don't understand human beings. You understand? That is gaslighting because people want to do something. They want hope. They believe in you. They believe in people. They want they bought into this collectiveness. They bought into the unity. They believe in it. And they want to say, because the same people who tell you we need to come together are the same people that say you stupid when you gave your money. And they fight all of that because they're trying to heal. They're trying to say, you know what? I don't want to give this my money, but I have to get over my trauma. Hence, what happens is the person plays on that trauma.
Right.
Because they know that people want to see something better. But the thing is, what you have to do is let people earn your trust. And what happens is we tend to be all in or all out. We have to be either all in or all out. So I go in strong and put everything. I reveal everything. I give all my money because I'm doing it for the cause. It feels good. It feels good. We have to go in a little slower. Not all the way out. See, trauma also makes you just shut down. And the time and you say, look, I'm going to give this person a try. It's my trauma. And this looks so good. And I don't examine or vet the information. We really need to get back to talking to people that's more mentally stable than us. I know we all say we are traumatized. I like to say, if we all are, we all ain't in the same place though.
Right.
Some of us more traumatized than others.
Absolutely.
And people respond to trauma differently. I'm a proponent of mental health. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we need that help. We always say we never got the treatment that we needed. But then the trauma also keeps us away from the treatment that we need.
What is the origin of? So we was talking off camera about when I brought Inky on to Moorish World TV, and we had a disagreement, which people thought it was about the drink kombucha, which it really wasn't. It really was about transparency. Moorish World TV is predicated upon transparency. Like if someone asks me something, I should be able to answer it because I owe that to those who are getting information from me. I owe transparency to the audience or to
Can
the
I say something real quick? We need, and that's another answer. We need to normalize that.
Right.
That's another. We need to normalize that you must be transparent if you're going to represent, and you're going to come as a figure in our community.
Absolutely.
You understand?
And that's what happened. That's what it really, the clash came from, because off camera, I said to him, if people ask you, have you swindled anybody, and they give you a case in which they say that it's true, whether it be the water, whether it be sea moss, whether it be whatever, you owe them an explanation. And he said to me off camera, as well as on camera, that I don't owe them nothing. They're not buying nothing from me. I don't owe them nothing. I said, well, brother, not on Moorish World TV. You have to be able to explain that set of circumstances.
That's another sign right there, what you just said. In front of the camera, people play this part. As soon as the camera go off, there's somebody different. What I saw, what we talked about earlier as well with you, what I realized is you hyper all the time. So that's a telling sign that that's you.
Right.
You got what I'm trying to say? Sometimes our hyperness can get us in trouble,
right.
But that is you genuinely, and you have to account for that. But you're not just this guy on camera and this other guy off camera. So when you see these people, the same people, you come into contact with them. One thing I saw about one of the brothers that really a major part of this mess is that I went to one of his events in New York, and on the camera he was this guy, but then a sister came to the event and he was you late. He started calling her names and bitch. Even me, when I went to that event you were talking about, he told me I had not paid for my ticket. My wife said you ain't paid for your ticket. I said, bro, look, I paid for the ticket. I paid for the ticket. I mean, he was all up in my face, grill. I said, look, bro, I don't, and my confidence was really high then. So I forgot what happened, but nonetheless, I said I ain't paying for no ticket. I'm going in. So what happened? So I think I don't even know. He kind of apologized a little bit, but he was very aggressive. That aggressive behavior that just switches when the camera's off. That, or so switches when it's on, but that aggressiveness, you're not truly who you say you are before the camera. The thing is, the camera you put on this clean image, and behind the camera, you're very messy. But then at some point, you find ways to make messy appropriate.
Yeah.
You understand? And now that's how you win, and you can't be wrong. Because you can be as messy as you want to be polite. You can be as messy as you want to be, Sinetta. You can be a messy, and messiness now becomes, I'm liberated.
Right.
You understand? And everybody else wants to be liberated. And in essence, what it's really saying, I can be me and not have to work on myself.
Right. Right. And so, and with that being said, that actually prolonged, that went on to a whole space. And in fact, this interview is actually therapy even for me to even get out of that space. It went on into a whole 3 to 4 months, if you will, of Inky making video after video, whether it was attacking my family, my wife, my children, my children's mother. Anybody they can find on social media that they could take a picture and remix and make it something else. What motivates one that has experienced trauma to begin to attack? My mother's sitting at home, possibly watching, if it's still on, The Young and the Restless. She don't know nothing about no YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Or my children's in school, or my wife is working. You seen her just come in a few minutes ago because she's actually working in this neighborhood right now. And she's being attacked. She doesn't do YouTube. But vicious attacks. What kind of trauma that would precipitate these vicious, unwarranted attacks on people within our community that has nothing to do with the direct conversation?
Undeveloped egos. Because I've been traumatized, and many times by people, the people I love even, That's what we can really talk about, not just white people.
Right.
The trauma that we experience today, we can take it back to slavery, what have you, if we want. But really, the trauma that white supremacy, quote unquote, is the oppression on our people, and how we now engage and interact with each other. So now my mother didn't love me. My father didn't love me. So now you become undeveloped. Your ego is undeveloped. Is not mature. You know, I'm a grown man, I'm a grown woman, but I'm not mature. So it's this little boy, it's this little girl who needs attention, who needs the love they never got. And they have a fantasy of who they are. If you look at the clothes and all the teeth and all these different things, it's a fantasy of who they are.
Right.
And then other people share in that fantasy. They call it shared fantasy. And the people who share in the fantasy often become abused.
That is actually a thing, shared fantasy.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, so it's a shared fantasy, right? And then what happens is when you show somebody that they're not who they think they are, because they can do all this dirt, but when you show them that they did this dirt, that disrupts them. That little boy, that's like saying, okay, here you go. The cookie jar. Did you take any cookies? No. When you turn around, you take cookies.
Right.
That's the little boy that Naeem Akbar speaks about in Visions of the Black Man. The little girl even.
Right.
Boys and girls, Dr. Naeem Akbar said there's males. I mean, you have sexual pieces. Then you have a boy, and then you have a man. You can say the same thing for a woman. So what happens is there's a lot of people masquerading as men and women who are actually still boys and girls. So what happens is they'll do what's right on the camera, but when you turn it off, they do something different. And so what happens is then you have those who share in a fantasy who now allow people to get away with certain things, will perpetuate. It's like, you know what? We all human. We all human. We all make mistakes. But see, the problem is they keep making mistakes. You keep finding a way to slip your Nicky in somebody and somebody else. You can't keep making those mistakes.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You can't keep smacking people. You know, we are whole people who did something one time and learned their lesson more accountable than these people that we believe in who continue and perpetually doing it right in front of our faces, because our mind can't. The mind is a very interesting thing, and people have been abused. Sometimes they learn other people's. They can't empathize with you on an emotional level, but they know how empathy works on a cognitive level. Hence, they know how to manipulate you because they know how you will respond. They know you are needy. They know that people are codependent, and they know that they can say anything today and then change it tomorrow. And they know that you would empathize with them as a victim because he was a victim. You know, I mean, even the whole thing about Will Smith. I'm not going to get into all of that, but there's a truth about a person being a victim, but that does not give him license or her license to continue to beat the hell out of other people.
To victimize other people.
And so that's the thing that we get missing in. So that's what allows this perpetuation. And also some of the stuff is normalized in our community. Trauma is normalized in our community because we're used to saying harsh things. When you say don't cuss on my platform, they're like, what is that? Why can't I cuss?
Yeah.
You know, like they ain't just slipping some words. They showing that they're dealing with trauma on your platform. I saw people and I saw you looking like they drinking in front of you. And these are supposed to be our revolutionaries.
Do you think that?
Yes, they drunk. Their mouths are so, it's above potty. It's extreme. It shows that you have a lack of discipline. You need to find your religion. You know, you need to find something that you got away from to keep some order. You have no value system because people, little boys and little girls, have not yet reached a developmental point where anything outside of them means anything. Everything is them. Everything goes back to them. And that's what happens when a little child has a tantrum when I can't have a cookie. Or you said, I told you I didn't steal the cookie, but now you saw that I stole the cookie, so now I want to have a tantrum and fall out on the floor, and that's what you're seeing.
Man, that's amazing that you say that, because you know I got a 3-year-old, and man, and we try to raise our 3-year-old as natural as possible without breaking them. So when he does something, we find other methods to correct it without, the harshness. You know what I'm saying? And man, he falls out, and I'm trying to find a way. I'm thinking about how my mother would have tore me up. But in today's world, we don't want to break our children because we know better, we do better. And what you just explained is what I can parallel my 3-year-old to actually what has happened on social media.
Yes.
It's a parallel.
Their egos. Because I never developed fully to become that man or that woman. I'm masquerading as a woman or a man. So what's happening is when I get caught, I go back to the 3-year-old. Right. Because I don't want you to know I stole that cookie. I don't want you to know that I'm hurting people, because I have to keep this image alive in the public. Right. People who are called out, and this is the other thing that keeps it alive. Well, people can come on social media and do anything, but now we start to say stuff like, see, they play into your blackness or your consciousness or your morousness. Yeah. They start to say, well, don't call them out. Let's go behind rooms. It's beyond going to rooms. You cannot have adult conversations with 3-year-olds.
Right.
They will continue and they will manipulate that.
One of my things was, I'm sorry to cut you, one of my things is that if you do it in public, if you scamming in public, why should we talk about it in private?
That's a part of what's been taught. That's the doctrine that's the tenets that the catechisms that's been taught by the oppressor. It's called is a catechism. It's narcissistic apologetics. Right. So they teach you ways. It's cult apologetics. They teach you ways to respond to people who are trying to enlighten you.
Right.
So you already know that they hook, line, and sinker. We should never go against another black man. Well, look at you. And it's like somebody came on your show last evening saying, well, what is this? No, that wasn't your show, somebody else's show. But they do it all the time. Right. Wow, how is this liberating us? Stuff like that. Bringing down another black man, bringing down another Mormon, breaking down another African, what have you. Well, excuse me, what happened to accountability?
Absolutely.
So we have people who are bought into things, and we are. The interesting thing is, the thing is, people who are highly educated are more, the research supports, they are more susceptible. So it doesn't have anything to do with intellect. Right. Because your intellect can get you into all types of trouble. Because you can intellectualize any type of thing you want to. You understand what I'm trying to say? So you be having lawyers and doctors and all these type of people who are very bright that you manipulate. Hence, you have people following you that now validate you. What you're looking for as a cult leader, and a grandiose narcissist, a malignant narcissist, a cultural narcissist, whatever form of narcissist that you are, what you're looking for is people that validate you. Then you see people taking all these pictures and acting like they know somebody when they really didn't know nobody. And they start coming out, look who I knew, look who I sat with, look at this, and look at that. Look at this person with a PhD and this person with a PhD, and they start pulling out books, and all I deal with is PhDs, and all this old craziness that has nothing to do. Okay, go ahead.
It appears to me that I've learned the hard way that, because I endorsed some people, I had people on my show. When I mean endorsed them as they were on my show, I was cheering them on before I really knew who they were. And many people asked me on my show, as recent as my position on Malik Zulu Shabazz. Somebody in the comment section, well, didn't you just do an interview with him last year or something, and now you're saying that he's an agent or something like that? And the point is about Malik Zulu Shabazz, he just has a lot of suspect qualities about him. He's been around 20 years. We don't see no accomplishments. We don't see no improvements in his methodology of liberation from a Pan-African perspective, from a Black Power perspective. We just see the same old hooping and hollering, Black Power, white man, cracker, whatever. And so when I choose to change my perspective on an individual, what is that thing that make people think that we are supposed to keep the same perspective? If I say today, well, no, I see it different now. This person is not right, and y'all need to be aware of this. Then I become the bad guy. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean this is not right? what did he do to you? You know, what is that thing that allows us to stay stuck? Is that a mental blockage? What is that?
Well, it's funny. I just made a post the other day again. It's
It
called
must be on the same wavelength or
it's
something.
called waking up versus giving in. I say one of the most unsubstantiated arguments is that merely because one has changed their angle or perspective about a controversial issue, and this person, let's say a controversial person, they now have given in, devolved, or become compromised. Sometimes people just wake up. That's what I say. Signed it, Dennis Ausar Winkler PhD. So I'm trying to get used to using that PhD, right? So the thing is, it's for all the apologetics again. It's a part of, I don't know much about, go on camera, I don't know much about Malik Solution Shabazz, but people, the behaviors that you're talking about, it's part of what we're taught. It's interesting. Like
let me just say this. I don't mean to cut your wisdom again, but let me just say this. It's similar to the situation the conversation that we had with Brother Polite, where I ultimately had to change my position.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I ultimately had to be like, dang, bro, you're right.
Because it's hope. Hope is
I had to change my position.
But it's hope.
But everybody else would say, well, what do you mean you changed your position?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
What do you mean?
You can wake up. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
You can wake up.
What about those that think that is not acceptable to change your position? And so I want the people to know that watching this, like it's okay to change your position, no matter how hard you go.
We're dogmatic. So what happens is we use the same playbook that the oppressors had given us. So what happens is when we when we learned Western type of Christianity, I'm being specific, Western type of Christianity, what happens is it's the us against them.
Right.
So what happens is that once you can't change the narrative, you can't evolve. In fact, if you evolved as a Christian, now you are satanic or something. If you no longer subscribe to Jesus doing one thing, now you have devolved. You are now the Antichrist. So what happens is people take that same mindset to wherever they go. I don't care if you put a red, black, and green flag up. I don't care if you I don't care if you put anything up. People become very religiously zealots or extreme. The more hurt you are, the more extreme you are. When you're not healed, you go from it's either good or bad, it's black and white. You can't see in-betweens. You can't see gray areas. And you're not really susceptible to change very easily.
Right.
It's either right or wrong. There's no gray. It's black and white thinking. It's all or nothing. And that's what happens when you've been through trauma. You can't see the grays in the world.
Right.
And that's what happens. That's how narcissists see the world. The narcissists see the world as good or bad. You're either a tool for them or not a tool for them. If there's something called, and it goes through the process where you idealize a person, then that's how narcissists work. They idealize you, you become the greatest, and then they devalue you. Oh, that person can't do nothing right. And then they start beating you up. And then after a while, when they don't need you no more, they discard you. And that's what you see going on. Next person. And they can do that forever. And that's what you see in a lot of the people, a lot of these figures that you see in the quote unquote internet conscious circles. And that's what makes them so attractive, because they understand you.
Right.
They understand that you desire and you feel the need and you feel down, and they can help you feel up, and they come to you and they make you feel good. That's what they do. It's a formula. It helps you feel good. And once they realize you now become a drug for you, and you become so dependent on them that you stop. It's like talking to somebody who's on dope. They can, you tell them they need to stop doing drugs, and they'll tell you all types of reasons why it ain't no problem, and how,
right.
Smoking cigarettes or what have you. It ain't no problem. People live longer, they smoke dope. Ain't nobody, look, people who don't smoke dope, they live long. I mean, my uncle lived and he smoked dope, and he's 79 right now, and Dr. such and such died, he was eating greens.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's that type of mindset is a very addictive thing. We are addicted to personalities that are abusive to us because they are reminiscent of our upbringings. It's so deep in people who narcissistic people or people who just abuse people, however you want to use the language, they understand that about people. They understand the codependency. They don't depend on you. They do depend on you
They
until
depend
they
on you to depend on them.
Yes, because what happened is in a narcissist eye, or a person who's a cult type of figure, they always looking for for affirmation because their esteem is low. Right. So I need people like I was sitting here with you at the event you gave, and I heard you say, bro, don't ever do that, give people all your money and do all this. Narcissists ain't gonna do that. That makes them feel good. Right. That somebody would do something like that. It's like my brother, I've said people like my brother Johnson, he would get on the camera and just sit there because that's telling him he can chew gum. That's how important I am. I can come on camera and chew gum for 15 minutes and you're going to stay there. That makes me feel good. But you'll never get enough. And when you stop giving that person what they call supply in the narcissistic theory, when you stop giving that person supply, they will now discard of you.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? And they'll find somebody else. They know that there's endless amounts of people, so they don't care how dirty they get.
And you know what, that man, it's something that you say that because in my thoughts, deep into my thoughts, I'm like, why does this go on and on and on? Case in point, we look at young Pharaoh, very promising orator, if you will, if he would have had the right information and the right discipline. But from the gate, young Pharaoh came out as this magnetizing figure to his audience and talking a whole bunch of nothing though. I mean, when you really break down and peel back the layers, he wasn't really talking about anything, talking about aliens and talking about all of these subjects that would be considered hard to believe in the everyday get up, go to work, take care of your family world. Hard to believe. But he was able to amass a large following as well as some sort of financial support from this large following. And then we've seen within the past few years how he just went off the deep end. Boom, done, nothing. And now he's talking about, I got a video recently, he's talking about he's going to go and kill somebody. I mean, he's live on YouTube saying this. He's going to go and kill somebody. They're going to shoot him in the face. He doesn't care if it's in front of his children, his mother. This was like 2 days ago.
Really? Wow.
It's like 2 days ago. The mentality that I'm trying to unfold and peel back the layers to take a look at is how one appeared to be so disciplined, even though what he was talking about didn't make sense. He had a formula, and soon as the crack in the armor showed, he seems to just fell all apart. He has been to jail. He went shooting at his children's mother's house. So we can look at a brother Polite. He's trying to hold it together now. But when he was accused of molesting the young sister that he's on trial for now, about to be on trial for now, he started doing videos. And you could tell he was almost falling apart. He was saying things like, I keep women around me. See, I'm not a weirdo. Look at the women I keep around me. Why would I do something weird? And it was a telltale sign that he was actually falling apart. And I was saying to myself, maybe he should stop doing videos. But he caught himself, and now he repolished and repackaged himself. The point that I'm making is, what is that type of thinking that you are so controlled in your presentation, then when the crack in the armor comes, you lose it. Polite was able to pull it back together. Young Pharaoh hasn't been able to put that back together. And I'll add one more. Nature Boy has not been able to pull it back together. What is that distant way of thinking or mentality that's from you held it together, you disciplined, you did something, and even though people may not agree with all that you did, but now you're just falling apart?
Well,
it's like a crash and burn.
I think there's stages. I think that it to some degree is intentional.
And I was thinking that too, but I'll let you talk.
Yeah. see what happens is they say things. They always been, see, when you talk about aliens, you're drawing a certain population to you. Because we like fantasy. You see what I'm saying? And those who have been the most traumatized need all sorts of fantasy. We all have some level of fantasy. Right. But there's a greater amount of fantasy that I need to cope in this world. So again, I know that people need fantasy. They need a God figure. They need a leader. They need and then I also tell people that the aliens are coming for them, and I have the answer. Again, and going back to that, I have the answer. I've heard these metaphysicians for years. They all had the answer. They got the special stone. We sell stones in our shop, but and there's research on stones. But these guys go extra far with telling you the stone can bring you millions of dollars and all these other things. We don't know if, like, in research show, they don't know if the stone is placebo or not. And placebo, if it works, it works. Like if you're depressed and you get this particular stone and it helps you feel better, well, there's some clinical significance that shows that, well, this person felt better. Placebo, even the stone was fake. Right. It still had the same effect. So it's a placebo effect with stones, But what I'm saying is, again, it's a fantasy. Because you can't feel for other people, you can keep things together. At least it appears that way on the surface. Right. People that are following those lines of like what people are calling malignant narcissists, such as a Trump and all, they look very together on the surface. See, because they know how to compartmentalize their feelings, their emotions. For the most part, they really don't know how to care for anybody else per se, because I'm hurt. and I've been conditioned as a youngster for the most part to not care, because nobody was there for me. So I had to cut those emotions off, because when I was crying as a child, nobody came for me. My figure wasn't there. So at some point I learned to be cold and cut off. And now people are now tools to me. So what happens is but the problem is, underneath of all that you built up is a lot of emotions. Right. That's being covered up. Hence, when they get caught, again, the cookie jar, they don't know how to respond because they don't have emotions. The only person they have emotions for is themselves. There it is. So when you only care about yourself, what happens is you really care about yourself, so you fall apart. That's that tantrum again. Yeah, you fall apart because you care about yourself, and everybody done something to me. When you hear the young boys, when everybody did something to them, that's when you gotta really love on them and really, and people kind of build it up. Because when you in school, when you that little rough dude, everybody kind of affirm you, the teachers even, right? They affirm you, and in some ways they support your gangsterism. Like you go to school, like the teachers be like really admiring you, and you like that attention. We gotta really hold people accountable for not continue. Look, it don't start. Look, again, let's go back to high school. If you were what's your Tito? What's your name? Tito. Tito in high school, whatever. Even though the teachers don't want to help you, they also admired you. You better know it. You see what I'm saying? So this is what happens. See, as one of my mentors say, is we look for, if we can't do it right, everybody wants to feel important, or they want to feel that they have something to give. They want to feel, so we go from, if you can't love me for my academics, you're going to love me for something. Yeah, you're going to find some value in something. Yeah, you're going to find some value in me. So if I got to be the toughest gangster in the world, I'm going to be that, because I can do that well. The book's probably not my thing right now. Right. But nonetheless, what happens is you don't have feelings for other people, because everybody's my enemy. If my mother didn't love me, how can I love somebody? How can somebody else? If I couldn't trust my mother, how can I trust somebody else? Right. That's heavy. Mm-hmm. That's heavy. Let me ask you in closing, unless you want to add some more, I wanted to ask you that can we dig into the mentality? Like when I looked at a brother Polite, for example, he has no background. And what I mean no background is, but when he came upon the scene,
into what we know as the conscious community. You cannot verify anything about his past as one who could be a leader in the community, yet he was able to come into the community as a leader. Meaning that before the Nubian dress, there's nothing. Before the Dr. York, being a student of Dr. York, there's nothing. You know, he said he was a gang member. There is no gang member in Brownsville that claims that he is who he say he is. But the people still was accepting and continue to accept without any type of confirmation that he is who he say he is. When you look at a person like even Inky, and you don't have a horse in a race, but from my research, he never had any true clinical training as it relates to him calling himself a doctor, and people still accept that and will even fight you when you say, well, show and prove. You were on my show a few weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, and you said you had called in. You're like, here's my degree right here, and I'll finish my.
Well, you say, hold on, how you was being facetious, but you said, how do I know
knew
you not a fake?
Yeah.
So I said, okay. So I went ahead and I pulled it off the wall.
Absolutely.
And showed it up close.
Right.
For examination.
Right.
Yes.
But we have a group that will accept without examination, people claiming to be doctors, people claiming to be, in the mortgage community, claim to be lawyers. You know what I'm saying? In the digital mortgage community. What is the mentality of our people that let these things slide? Because I don't feel like if I go to the doctors today, I will go in with the presumption that this doctor know what he's doing when he put stitches in my foot. Because I'm going into the environment, you know what I mean? I'm gonna go with the presumption. And if I ask to, well, are you really a doctor? He's able to show me. One, he's gonna have a badge on. Number two, he's gonna have his, you know what I mean, his tag, you know, his ID badge. And so with the presumption, I'm good with it. But in this community of ours that claim to be conscious, there is nothing even for us to be presumptuous about. But our people still will buy stuff, still would take advice, still would let one counsel.
It's part of again, it's the same answer. It's part of the quote unquote, I'm going to use the term, call it conscious apologetics. The catechisms.
You should write a book about the conscious apologetics.
It's the catechisms again. It's actually when you're sitting with someone, they teach you that some will come, like Satan. In that case, anybody who now challenges the doctrine of some of these people you're speaking about, right? Because you always instill the person who's the cult leader always tell you about the naysayer. You know, the person who's it's just like, you can go into all the books even, and they tell you about even religions have it, you know, where they tell you about, well, they're going to come and tell you something else, or, you know, this or that. And they're going to prepare you for it. They prepare you to know that such and such is going to come and tell you something different. And he's the enemy. Beware of him. He's the Judas. He's a this. He's a that, you know. And then they also prepare you with, they constantly feed the Tuskegee experience or experiment to you, or that did happen, right? But they constantly feed your mind with these things, and they happen, but make it even more to a higher level than even its impact, to the degree you can't trust nobody but them, or nobody but people with this mindset. And hence, you don't question. Then people start saying, "You ain't question that white man. This is a catechism. You never question the white man. Why would you question me?" Or why? Then they'll start sharing the same information. Why would you question that brother? You never questioned the white man. You know. So these type of catechism, these type of deposits in our minds, they start kicking in when somebody comes in, Baba Ausar say something, brother, to me, and I'm like, why would you challenge him? Why would you question Obama and you ain't never questioned give me a white guy. Dick Cheney. You never question him. And it's a lie still though.
Right.
It's still a lie. Cause you did question them. But when you're in there, you don't realize it's a lie. Just like, I'm gonna give you one thing. Part of the lie about economics. Oh, black people don't own no businesses. I own businesses. And I'm over here in West Baltimore where there's nothing but black businesses.
That's right.
And then I'm in school one day with my professor. We don't own no businesses because this is the type of stuff that we've been fed in these conscious circles. We don't own nothing. We don't own anything. And we really, literally in our minds, we see the black businesses, but we still say we don't own nothing, which perpetuates us not advancing the businesses. But me saying it, then the teacher said to me, don't you own 3? Yes. But you know what I mean? I mean, as a whole. See, the thing is, the mind in a logical sense can know you own something, but the stuff they feeding is feeding to your emotions. Right. And when your emotions, the emotions tell a story to you, even though there's information that goes against it, but your emotions will win if you're emotionally reasoning. Right. And what happened when somebody's up on the pulpit, when somebody's up, and that's why we have to be careful. You know, people and leaders, I'm very careful that I don't want to influence you to the degree where you can't think for yourself.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? But
Absolutely.
These people take advantage of that. And they know the sun will leave because they don't want that, but they know more will come. And plus, they're so addicted to the attention that it's not like you or me who like, look, man, wow, that dude, can I say something wrong? I can't be right all the time, right? That's something that I would say, like, or you would probably say, right? But no, see, I won't say that because as a malignant or a narcissistic person, what have you, what happens is all I look for is affirmation. I am on a constant hunt for affirmation. Feeling important because that little boy has been hurt. That little girl has been hurt. I need affirmation that I never received from my mother, from my father, from whoever. I need that. And I can't get enough of it. And enough will never be enough. And that's the problem.
Last question. How do we teach to overcome and resolve this? What is a practical methodology in overcoming this? Because people who watch this, maybe they have experienced something similar, witnessed something similar, and even they may be going through it at this time. They may even see themselves as the narcissist, or maybe even see themselves as the victim of the narcissist. So from both sides, what is a practical methodology to begin the healing, if you will?
Well, I think that we all could use mentor. We have to identify those people who are healthy as mentors or leaders or however you want to call it. But I think first and foremost, when you've been in relationship with people who are cult-like type leaders or malignant narcissists or whatever you want to call it, abusers, plainly abusers, you I forgot where I was going. Okay, so what happens is you become addicted to that, and that's a hard withdrawal process.
Okay.
So what has to happen is I think there has to be some psychoeducation. You have to learn and see yourself in these patterns because they're very easy to see. So again, study narcissism, study gaslighting, study the tricks, study cults. I'm gonna give you, look at this. There's a guy named Stephen Son. He's a European gentleman, but he has created a model called the BITE model of authoritarian control. And just study that. And he talks about there's 4 areas: behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotional control. And he has all these bullet points of how to identify if you're in that situation. What we can't do is beat people out of being in those situations, because what happens is it's very counterintuitive. You can't scream to a person they're in a cult and think they're going to change, because they're already prepared for that. the deeper the cult, the more a person is prepared for your attack because they've been prepared for your attack.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So you have to now maybe even show them other examples, or if you go directly at them, no, they all the stuff that been instilled in their emotions comes up. It's like muscle memory. You see what I'm saying, Baba? It's like, so it comes up, the catechism, all the bullet points, all the conscious apologetics come up because you're not, at that point, using emotional war.
That becomes their defense.
Yeah, and it's just defense mechanism. It's just defense after defense after defense. You can't save a person when they're in a very you can't help a person see when they're very defensive. Right. So that's why I don't debate. Some stuff is okay to believe if it's some things you can believe can be not true. So I'm not fighting people about truth or this, that stuff. It's really, how is it impacting you? Right. You see what I'm saying? So if you believe in Santa Claus, as long as it's not maladaptive, I'm okay. If you're okay with Christ and Buddhas and whatever, if you believe Ausar walked the earth, if it's serving you, I'm okay with that. But when it starts being maladaptive is when we have to now intervene in a way that is careful and understand the trauma of people. So bite model, check that out. Also, just really study narcissism, which is a real thing. But as far as for those who are those who inflict the harm, I think that they really need to be, they're not going to do it. You see what I'm saying? That's just a fact. They're not going to do it.
You think they've got comfortable in that space?
No, that's the only way they can operate.
Okay.
So they need it. So it's incumbent upon us to, and everything is on various degrees. Because I know I got a lot of brothers around me and a lot of sisters and a lot of people I work with. And everybody has a hinge. So a lot of people have a hinge because everything's on a spectrum. Everybody has some of these qualities. You see what I'm saying? Well, you know, it's not because you have one quality, it makes you toxic. You know what I'm saying? But some of us have it to an extreme level. You see what I'm saying? Like some of us are grandiose. But just because you're grandiose doesn't make you a narcissist or maladaptive or toxic or what have you, right? It's a combination of these characteristics or traits, and are you abusing them? You see what I'm saying? So we have to understand what these traits are, and we have to look into studying it in real. Oh, I'm sorry, for the narcissists. I'm sorry, for those cult leaders, for those who are abusing people, for those people, they need to get under somebody. We need to hold them accountable.
Yes,
we need to hold them accountable, and we need to understand that they will fight because they can fight. You can't outfight them. I'm sorry, because you will run out. It's like a person who they had so much hurt and pain in their lives. Like I see young dudes who never had a mother, never had a father, never had this in their lives, and if they don't find some type of figure, they will become the next.
Well, you know, on social media, I mean, this is sidebar, but on social media now the fight is, like I said, to talk about your family, to make us, on social media, they done made me a sex offender. So they start making up stuff, and they don't have a button to cut off. You think there's that's extreme. I never when I first got into YouTube, I never imagined that it will go to such extreme where I would become this figure where one could just say he's a sex offender, and you have not many people go for it, but you have a small group that explain that.
The shared fantasy.
And I'm saying, explain what?
The shared fantasy.
But the victim, the one that is claiming to be the victim now claim to be a victim because I'm asking for transparency. Now flips it and claim to be that I victimized somebody.
That's what happens.
This is insane.
Everybody has to be.
But that is the social media construct right now.
There's no.
When you look at Kwame Brown, when you look at they going back and forth. They put his children online. Really? What's the other guy name? The one that talk about the sisters all the time. People. I mean, it's just gone over the top.
How low can you go?
There it is.
And I'm saying, so you can't fight them in that way completely, because they won't stop. They don't have us. It's like what I was saying is, it's that little dude that shouldn't have beat that dude up, the big dude right there. But because he had so much pain, that dude could have thrown him on the ground and kept on the ground. But he had so much anger and so much rage that he ain't gonna lose. That big dude gonna come down because he cannot. He will not stop. He will not stop because he's so hurt. He has so much pain. I've worked with so many brothers that say, I'm just, what was that, Bernie Mac? I wish I would. Mm-hmm. And that's the mentality. I'm just looking for somebody to put this smoke through. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for somebody to shoot my trauma through. I'm looking for somebody to destabilize. And that makes me feel good. And even this is one of the reasons, when you're really narcissistic, there's no bad media.
It's all good.
I really want the media to love me, but to some degree they can hate me, and that still feels good because I'm important enough for you to continue to talk about me. Keep talking, nigger. You know that word they say.
Right.
Keep talking. They like it. They love it. You will run out before they will run out. They don't have a stop button. It's just fueling them. Right. I'm that important. And they say, look at my headlines. Look at your name all in the headline. Look. Yeah.
Do you actually at the holistic center? You come in at your holistic center. You come. That's my wife. You come in. At your Let me wait till she shut the door. You good? We about to wrap up in 1 second. At your just shut the door so it don't be in a. I'm gonna edit this part out. At your holistic center, do you provide services for the community where they can come in, and what would it take for one that wanted to get some holistic healing and some of your training on how to overcome narcissists or how to overcome being a narcissist, if they would even show up? What is the process of that?
People show up with these traits, right? And again, we're talking about what they call subclinical levels, right?
Right.
They go to extreme where you see some of the people who become gods. It ain't too much you can help them per se.
Right.
They like to that level where it's probably clinical at that time. Where they come in, they're looking for the time. They'll come in and act like you the best therapist in the world, but they're looking, they're asking for information so they can now bury you. You see what I'm saying? Because they're going to make you feel good. That's it happens in all relationships. They come in and what they call it love bomb you, and after they love bomb you, then they start to get all this information to make you vulnerable. They're never vulnerable though.
Right.
They give you little stuff, but you'll realize they never say anything about themselves much. But then they never divulge per se as much. And if they do, they make you feel sorry for them. So it's different types of ways of doing it. You feel so sorry for the person that you would almost get up at midnight and 3 a.m. and all types of times, just do everything for that little boy or little girl that's inside them. They feel like the world has done something so bad to them that they make everybody feel sorry for them. So what we do have men's groups. We have circles. And a lot of the brothers, to some degree, they have that. And we call it out. The little boy. We call out the little narcissistic tendencies. So that they can this is when the little boy is kicking in. Dr. Naim Akbar spoke about. It's kicking in. And then again, where I was going at before is that you really need to be under some real long-term mentorship because personalities are very rigid, a very rigid construct. They don't just change. And you won't change to a totally different person. You just have to now learn to manage all of that stuff inside you. We all have you got Tito in you still. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. We all got that stuff still in us. We have to now find some way to manage that. That's why I say that you have to be under somebody, because the reality is and sometimes they don't know right from wrong. And if you don't have a value system that tells you what's right from wrong, they need a hardcore value system and somebody can say, look, bro, come on, man.
I'm smiling because what I said to you earlier, I needed more science.
Yes, I get it. Believe me, I know.
I said that to you. I said I needed more science. I was the one where I just couldn't figure this out. My mother gave me all the tools, my grandmother gave me all the tools, but would really put me on the path of understanding me and what is permissible and what is not was the principle that I find in moral science.
They need principles, and that's why I be warning people, stop taking people to astro planes and stop. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a time, but they ain't trying to come here.
Right.
You trying to be out there. They need some very fundamental stuff. That's wrong. That's right. And they still gotta keep thinking about it, because their body tell them to do something else. But you gotta challenge. Oh, is that wrong? And then sometimes they gotta call you up. Like, yo, I mean, people call me up. I'm talking about some of my mentorees or what have you call mentees and so on and so forth. They call me up because they once the emotions kick in, you go back to default.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then you have to learn to really depend on other people. You have to have a community. You have to have somebody around you where they can check you. Because what happened? A lot of these people build they build in silos because you have to want to, and I've seen so many. And personality is one of those things that you have to, it's over years, because it didn't take 1 year to make you that. You know, whatever made you into that extreme personality type, it was nurtured. So now you have to nurture something new in. Whereas you still gonna be a certain way, but now you have tools, you have other men as our group, they come in, they look like, yo, they can point out their selves in other people, and they get to see it. They get to see it and call it and call out each other and stuff like that. Because the one thing about people in our community, it's very high, these traits, is that you are so convincing. You'll make people feel your story, feel your hurt, how everybody else is against you. People really believe what our dear brother Johnson is saying. People really believe what the polite say. They really believe all this, and everybody's doing something to me, and it's not me, and it's them, and it's all of that. And they know how to bring you in to feel like everybody's done something to me. It's like that child, this oppositional defiant, where every authority figure is a problem. That's what they need, a damn authority figure.
Right.
They need somebody to say, yo, chill, man.
What would it take for someone to come off the streets and come into your holistic center and say, I need some help? Is it expensive? How does that work?
Well, most people, they don't got no money, can use insurance, right? Can get insurance, right? They can get Medicaid.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to let people know that the help is available.
Yeah.
And you look like them. You're from where they're from. As we started off at the beginning of this interview, you are from this area,
right?
From another area.
And we will work with them regardless, especially in our circle, in our groups. We actually have all types of programs. We even have our Mayat circle, where we deal with these issues no matter what form it is.
You said Mayat. I'm gonna have her on this seat next.
Okay.
Sister Mayat.
Okay.
Go ahead, brother.
So we have our Mayat circle of enlightenment, where we deal with all these traumas, all these ills, which many would say, and I would argue too, that it's heightened in our community due to the oppression that we experience here in America. So, and across the world even, but really here, and we don't know what to do. We don't have, like an example, you say more science, you needed it. We need these things. We need it.
Right.
Because we don't really have, we don't know right from wrong. That's the reality.
That's right.
And you can't, and when a person will justify what they believe is right, and they're so tired of being wrong when they trying to be right. And that's the other part of it. Because when they start doing the work, I gotta be right this time. I can't be wrong. I can't be wrong all the time. And no, you're not wrong all the time. But the problem is you still don't know, when you're in this thing, lots of times you still don't know right from wrong. Because you don't know, your identity has not fully developed. So now you have to have a mentor. And what we offer is mentorship. We offer alternative forms of therapy. We offer therapy. We offer group therapy. We offer Tai Chi meditation. We offer so many things. This event that we have coming up, that's even a form of therapy. So we need community to really rid and deal with this thing. It's a social issue, and it has to be dealt with socially in the room by itself, because sometimes it's the ego is so fragile, you can't go out there and do it in the public. But come in the room or the circle, whichever works best for you at that point. But at some point, this is a social problem, and we got to deal with it in that manner as well.
Man, I want to thank you for being here. And you know we got more future dialogues coming. I think this is a very important dialogue due to the fact that we see this upon us every day. This psychological down spiraling. I mean, our psyche is just, our mentality, our way of life as a people, it just seems to be spiraling out of control as it relates to being reactionary from trauma. And so this conversation is so important to have. And I think we need to continue to have these conversations, because I'm pretty sure that somebody is going to see themselves in this conversation. And the most important thing about the conversation is the solution. So once again, can you tell people where you're located if you're in Baltimore City, and if you need some help with dealing with trauma or dealing with just the everyday struggle of life in Baltimore City that may cause trauma in the future or have caused trauma in the past? Where you are located?
Can I digress?
Absolutely.
So, and I do, because you know that argument happens, and I think it's a very layman's argument, right? Whereas I understand the pressure, because when we know a little something, we become trained to say, so what's the solution? What's the solution? And I'm going to say part of the solution, especially when it comes to mental health, is identifying the issue, identifying the problem, identifying the patterns, identifying the behaviors, identifying these things so you can identify them in you and or other people. And when you learn more about it, that's called psychoeducation. And once you see it, you can identify it, you can start to mitigate it or adapt to it, or what have you have to do. Or get out of your own way. You have to create boundaries, you have to create walls, you have to create boundaries for yourself and others. But so everything I'm going to argue here today is a solution, because you're bringing the light on the issue. And now by identifying, that's why I keep going back to identifying it, so you know what it looks like, and you'll see it in yourself. You'll see when you're a little controlling. I'm talking about me, you, everybody. When we start to identify and start seeing that little boy in us, and we'll start saying, what, is this about me? Is this about the group? Who is this about? Is it me now wanting to be this? Or you start checking yourself, and you can check and look at other people, and so you will stop being in these abusive relationships. But yeah, so they can find us at we're at 5525 Harford Road, TNAT Holistic Wellness Center. They can give us a call at 410-777, see the 3 7s, 5020, right?
Right.
410-777-5020, and 5 plus 2 is also another 7. So, and the zeros don't.
You got a lot of 7s up here. But now, one more time, I want you to underscore your event coming up. What is going on with your event coming up on, I think it's the 22nd?
The 22nd of April, we're having what we're calling soulful sounds and soulful cuisine. We're having K's Caribbean Kitchen, which is one of the best kitchens from Caribbean. Is my wife, and she cooks really well. Anything, all diets accepted. Besides, if you are, what is it called? Where you don't cook your food. No,
a raw vegan.
You're raw vegan. No, but everybody else, you can come and get something from vegan, strict vegan, to if you eat meat. The food is going to be really good. Caribbean. My wife's from Jamaica. Camille, my wife. Shout out. And then also we having the Soulful Sounds of Conjure Collective. Is a group that a brother we know named Jada Bashi, and it's a collective where they.
Is this an adult event, a family event, adult children? What kind of event is this?
All of our events are typically open for everyone. Mm-hmm. This is at night. This is probably, all our events are community events, but it's no drinking or nothing like that. Right. So for the most part, mostly anybody can come.
Okay.
Yeah. If your children would like some eclectic type of spoken word and jazz, and they don't like the word jazz, but that type of vibe, song, instruments, all that type of thing. Very
My wife,
soulful,
she loved that
very
stuff.
conscious
Yeah.
oriented, very socially conscious. You know, not the conscious internet.
Right. And my wife is the balance of me. She really liked that soulful eclipse. I'm more of a get at me, dog. So it balanced out. So I know we're gonna be there. So I'm looking forward to it. And I want to thank you again, bro. But we definitely got to do this again. But TNAT, Holistic Wellness Center, as well as Unity Hall, we haven't even put the sign up.
Well, thanks for having me.
But we're going to put the sign up, and we're going to partner up with some of these works that we need to do on the street in Baltimore, because as you know, right around the corner from here, we got killing going on almost every other day. We got the drug dealing going on real heavy. On your side of town, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So it's not going to change unless we do something. So I just want to thank you for this conversation and putting a foot forward in the changing our conditions here in Baltimore.
Likewise, thank you, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, brother.
Nobody like to listen. Didn't I try to tell y'all? I'm the king of this YouTube. Ain't worried about you dudes. Ain't nothing that you do to make me care. But I pray to Allah, you don't take me there. See, I'm the type to get in front this mic and sacrifice. Alright, you the type to get in front the mic and hope you get some likes. I used to back the thing that go bang bang and boom. My brain cells is a fully armed army platoon, and y'all some cartoons, coons and balloons. You wanna meet on ID? I prefer high noon. I'm a quick draw McGraw standing on that floor. It's I, self, Lord, and Master.
Family, I'm
Allah,
here
see you dummy
with one of the
blind.
greats, one of the newest greats.
You better pay attention.
Brother
The answers
Ausar
in between
Bey.
the lines. I'm the man still standing. Kill them haters single-handed. Had them fighting each other with every punch I landed. Cut the head off the snake.